Hello and welcome everybody back to the Inside Our Galaxy podcast. I'm your host, Eric Hernandez, as always. It's been a while. It's been a couple weeks since the Galaxy had last played. Of course, after that whole Leagues Cup debacle, that whole, we didn't win a single game in Leagues Cup and stuff like that. So yeah, it's been a while since we made an episode, but here we are. We're back to talk about some LA Galaxy. Of course, there's a lot of interesting things that have happened. Of course, we made some moves during the trade deadline. And we got a lot of new faces coming in. We're going to talk about those, the signings, how we feel about them. And of course, we got that to talk about. We got some, just talk about things that we did in the break. Of course, G2 happened. We kind of, did some of that. Of course, Leagues Cup in general has been happening. That's been crazy. So, of course, we're just going to, have a nice chill episode, talk about what we did and, talk about things that the Galaxy did. And, of course, we also have a preview this week for RSL, which is going to be this Sunday at Dignity Health Sports Park. So that's going to be something to talk about as well. So, feels good to be back. Feels good to have everybody here. Of course, with me as always is LA Galaxy Central. How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. I've enjoyed some of the Leagues Cup games as a neutral, and I haven't really got the chance to support a team in a couple weeks, and I'm glad that's coming back this weekend. Like, obviously, the Galaxy got kicked out a while ago. The Kings and Lakers aren't playing right now, and my European team, Napoli, is just in preseason, and a lot of the games aren't even on television. So, really, for the last couple weeks for me, it's just been kind of neutral. I've been enjoying the games, saw some good games, like some Miami games, the Monterey games. Like, there's been some good action going on, but I'm happy to go back to supporting a team now.
Yeah, definitely. Both the teams that I had in the Leagues Cup both got out in the first round. So it really, literally, I said if one failed, the other one backs me up. But, that wasn't the case. Both of them failed at the same time. But, it's been interesting watching Leagues Cup as a neutral and, just watching other sports, doing other things, kind of feels refreshing to take a break from the Galaxy considering where we're at right now. But now that we're back and we got some new things to talk about, it's all coming back. So, it feels good to talk about some LA Galaxy again. And, let's talk about what the Galaxy did, during this break. Of course, like I said, they, had some, trade moves that they did before the deadline. A lot of new faces, even a free agent, signing afterwards. We had some moves. Of course, there's a lot of players that we need to talk about as well. We signed like 5 players within the deadline around there. Like we had Maya Yoshida, which we did talk about last game. We traded for Fagundes from Austin. We traded for Michael Barrios from the Rapids. We also traded for Edwin Cerrillo from Dallas, and then also we got Billy Sharp off of free agency. So those are the new names for the team. And of course, we're going to dive into those signings. But before we get into the individual signings, overall, how'd you feel about them? Did you feel like these were the right moves?
Yeah, I think most of these were the right moves. I think they're pretty financially smart moves. We didn't really overpay for anybody. We talked about like last episode, like we really didn't want to see the Galaxy overpay for anybody, like a Roger Martinez, like possibly a Funes Mori next season. We didn't want to see like one of these big cash grab kind of signings just to have a name in it. I don't think we did that this window. I think we made some good additions all around. Helped the depth a little bit, helped the attack a little bit. We mentioned attack was a huge issue. You brought a few attackers in. Maybe not necessarily like a starting caliber striker, but you still got attacking quality in there, which is definitely good. And I think, like I said before, we really did a good job managing money and trading for good contracts and not really overpaying for anybody.
Yeah, definitely. We really did not like give up that much for some of these players, which is a good thing. Something that we've kind of haven't seen the Galaxy do and manage their I guess their expenses correctly. But you're right. We didn't really give up that much. And what I like, for the overall, what I liked is that we did address everything that we needed. Of course, we addressed center back. We need a striker. We got a striker. Winger. We did get another winger, and we added a little bit of depth and kind of things like that as well. So we addressed really everything that we needed in the list, right? So yeah, I definitely think that was a overall, I think that was a good solid window, and of course we can talk individually about these players. If you want to start off with one of those players.
Well, I have one more thing to say. I think the correct wording for what you just said is we addressed everything we needed to for what the circumstances at hand. Like, because I still think that this winter we still need some starting caliber players, and we need to go out and spend some money on some big attackers because this team kind of does lack that quality. But for what was at hand, I think they did a really good job.
Yeah, correct. To be more specific, yeah. For what we needed and for what for the circumstances that we're in, this was a solid window, definitely for sure. And also to bring up another point before we talk about individually, we did mention that Vanny kind of sort of you know, the way he approached this window was to kind of have signings more past this season, right? For the future, for next season, and so forth. And at first we kind of thought about that. We were just like, I don't know who we're going to bring, and I don't know if we're really that optimistic then about our season. But not only are these players going to be useful, and some of these players are going to be here for the next season and maybe even another season after that, but even for this season, I feel like these are going to be really good contributions. Again, for the circumstances that we're in right now, they're going to be players that are going to be contributing to the team. And like I said, we addressed what we needed, and yeah, I mean that that's another point I would want to take as well. But yeah, let's talk about individually about these players. Of course, I think we did talk about Maya Yoshida last episode, so we don't really have to go too in depth into that. So I think we can start off with Fagundes, which was kind of a little bit of the shocker. Or at least when it happened, it was kind of shocking that we traded for Fagundes and that Austin gave up Fagundes. But yeah, I mean, what are your initial thoughts about that? How'd you feel about getting someone like Diego Fagundes?
Yeah, I think out of all the trades, this is definitely the biggest wild card. Like Fagundes, like last season, he was really good. Should have been an all-star. I think was like almost led the league in assists. He was very good last season, and even his last couple of seasons for Austin, his first one he was really good, and he had some decent ones in New England. But this year he's really struggled, and I don't think it's all his fault. I think like he had conflict with the coach. He wanted that new contract. They didn't give it to him right away. Then he got it. Then he got benched. So maybe a change of scenery is good for him. I do think he's going to help this attack, but his role on the team is definitely interesting though. He's one of those players that's very versatile. He can play anywhere in the attack. Like he can play on either side of the wing. He can play center, attacking mid, and he can even play second striker if we wanted him to. So it's going to be interesting not only this season but also like next season. Like where does this guy fit on the field? Is he a starter? Is he on the bench? Like will he find that form from last season, or is he still gonna kind of be in this slump this season? It's going to be interesting to see what version of Fagundes we get and how we're going to utilize him.
Yeah, definitely for sure. And like I said, this was a little bit of a shocker just because the fact that, yeah, like it is weird that Austin kind of traded him out, like kind of just shipped him out of town. But again, like you said, kind of had some deals with Austin, with the coach, with contract stuff and things like that. And yeah, you know what? I mean, despite him not having that great of a season, I still think he's a good player. I mean, he like we said, he had a good season last year, and and I think that when we look at sometimes players, it's a lot about what have you done for me lately? And I think like if you just look at last season, you're like, okay, like this is if we can get this kind of Fagundes on our team and contribute to the team this way, like I think that it is a good pickup. I mean, but like I said, like you said, it's a wild card, right? It can either be maybe he is digressing, maybe it's not, he won't get back to that form, but also like with what you've seen and what we have seen from him before, you're kind of hopeful about it. You're like, all right, let's see where this can go. And you mentioned about where he can fit next season, which again, in general for these signings, like a lot of these signings are, I'm glad they're coming in right now because not only could they help the team, but also they can get used to the Galaxy. They can get used to the system, get used to LA, whatever the case may be. But this is sort of like a little bit of a test run for them and for whatever comes next season. But yeah, I mean, for sure, Fagundes good, I think was interesting, but nonetheless, I like the signing.
Yeah, that's the thing with Fagundes. Like, I feel like he's one of our only signings where I feel like when he's coming in, he doesn't really have a clear role. Like, we don't really know. Like, okay, this season he might start. I'm pretty confident he'll probably start, but next year I'm not confident about that at all. And I don't really know where we're going to use him. Like I said, he can play in many different attacking spots. He's one of those versatile players. And like with all of our signings, I feel like all of them have a very clear role besides him and another one we're going to get into later.
Yeah, I mean, definitely for sure. But like I said, I think Fagundes is. It's not necessarily a big gamble, but it's something where you're like, okay, I'll probably take the gamble on it. Like this is something that I think could be really positive to the team for not only just season but for next season, and however long he stays.
I mean, yeah, he is a max TAM contract player, but at the same time, it is kind of important to have some of those players that can contribute to your roster and have experience in the league and not just buy internationally. So I do think this can be a really good pickup if it all goes right for him.
Yeah, definitely for sure. This, we'll just have to see what he does. But I like the signing for in general, and I think a lot of people like the signing. in general with having bringing Fagundes and what he's done. So we'll just see how that goes. But yeah, I think we can move on into the next player. I guess we can move on into Edwin Cerrillo, who was a player from FC Dallas. Was part of the FC Dallas Academy. And of course, another signing which was kind of interesting because this is a young player. This is a player who has started for Dallas. Has had the experience with Dallas coming off the academy and stuff like that. So you're kind of just like, okay, there's some good things from him. He's still young. I believe he's 22, 23, maybe even younger. I don't remember, but he's still a young player. And again, this also not only does this address depth for the future, but at least addresses right now for Gaston Brugman being out for the rest of the season. He plays, CDM, so he'll fit in right in there. And I'm assuming he'll probably get the start maybe for the rest of the season. We'll see how that goes, but we'll see how that goes. But yeah, Edwin Cerrillo, that's another signing or trade that we did. How'd you feel about that one?
Yeah, that's my favorite addition of the window by far. I think it's an amazing addition. The value you got him for. You only got him for 300K, which is an amazing trade. He's on a cheap salary. He's only making like 200 or 300K, so he's not really affecting your salary cap. And I think he's a very good player with a lot of potential. Like Bergman's out the rest of the year, so like you said, he's probably going to start, which is a really good thing. Last year he started on FC Dallas every single game, and Dallas finished third in the Western Conference. So not only can this guy start in MLS, he can start on good teams in MLS. And next year when Bergman's back, we can have him as a substitute, and that's a very, very solid substitute to have in Open Cup games and midweek games. It's a great depth piece to have at a great value. And yeah, this is by far my favorite trade. When I saw it, I was very surprised because I'm like, wow, they really gave him up. But that really just shows how deep Dallas's academy is. The fact that they're willing to give up these high level guys for not that much of a price because they believe they can develop a new one.
Yeah, I know, and that is something that we did talk about actually when that signing happened. Was that's just how good FC Dallas Academy is. It's just that they can just literally just move on from this guy and then go find the next guy. Like it really is crazy to think about. But regardless, like you said, a lot of things. Like he started in MLS. He started for good teams in MLS. Whenever Dallas has been good, and yeah, I mean, again, this is a really good contribution as well. We didn't give up that much for him, and again, the young factor. Everybody says, where's the young players? Bring in the young players. Well, there you go. This is a really good young player that you're going to bring on your team that could not only just not only just contribute for this season, but for multiple seasons and however long he stays. But yeah, definitely for sure, Cerrillo is one of those players that I definitely think was a good pickup, and I think this one's going to benefit a lot.
It's pretty funny with Galaxy fans though. Like we can sign like 5 or 6 young players, but if we sign 1 or 2 old players, it's like the end of the world. Like I feel like people don't understand that a team needs a balance in that. Like we need some young players and some veterans on the team.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you always got to get that balance. You always need that experience, right? It's not always about young players. Like, yes, young players are more energetic. They're more, they just have, that extra kick in them, compared to older players. But still, the older players still bring value. They bring in experience. They bring in, the amount of things that they've done in their career, and so. Yeah, I mean, of course, you got to have a balance, and that's why you bring in somebody like Amaya Yoshida and a Billy Sharp, which we'll get into later. But still though, you gotta always have those that balances. But for the people who've been asking for young players, this is the one that you should be excited about, and definitely one that you got to keep your eye out for. However long he stays.
Yeah, I mean, we got a lot of young players this year too. We got Caligari, who's in his early 20s, Aude, who's like just turned 20. Like Neo came up from the academy, he's like his early 20s, might even be 19. And then I got a 22-year-old. So for all the people like saying like, oh, where are the young players? I mean, you've really seen a big sample size this year.
Yeah. Don't forget Efrain Navas. No, I'm just kidding. But even if you want to count
I actually
him,
did forget about him.
but yeah, I mean, if you want to count Efra, although he's, it's kind of crazy though. Efra has been here for has played with the Galaxy for so long, but you forget he's still like 22. It's kind of crazy. But
Yeah, it's time for a change for everybody.
yeah, but still though, like I said, for when it comes to young players, this is your guy right here. Of course, yeah, we'll move on for the next player. We end up getting Michael Barrios, which is another veteran player that we can talk about as well. Just again, a guy who's been in MLS, a guy who's been with the Rapids, with Dallas as well. He's been around the league, and again, another veteran piece. Might be on the older side, but still, regardless, a very good piece in general and depth piece in general for the attack. So, yeah, I mean, Michael Barrios, we kind of know who he is, but again, how'd you feel about that signing? How'd you feel about that trade?
Yeah, it's a pretty good trade. You basically got him for basically nothing. I mean, only 50K and a draft pick is a great value for him. He is a little bit older, which is kind of a theme with some of our windows where kind of worried that these guys are a little bit old and how long they'll be able to hold up. But for right now, and even next season, I still think he can be a great piece. And in his prime in MLS, he was an amazing attacking player. And sure, now he's a little bit older, but off the bench, I still think he can bring value. And like we talked about before, this team really needs attack, and he's definitely an attacking minded player who can come off the bench, try to produce. And yeah, for 50K, it's just great value, really.
Yeah, it really is. And also, let's not forget that this man scored a header on us last year. I think it
That was
was.
ridiculous, dude.
Yeah,
He's like
I
five
mean,
foot tall.
yeah, the guy is. I think he's like my height, which I'm. If those who ever have met me, I'm pretty short. So I think he's like my height. But yeah, I mean, the shortest guy in the field scored a header on us last season, which is again insane. But hey, you know what? Now he's with us, and again, he brings in the value of experience and being in this league for a very long time. So yeah, I mean, I definitely like the piece, and it's definitely a good depth piece in general. But yeah, anyways, let's see. Who else am I missing from the trade window? I think in terms of trade, I think that was it, right? Just those
I
four.
believe so, yes.
Yeah.
I feel like
Okay.
we could be missing someone, but I believe that is it.
I
It's,
believe
it's
that is it.
probably, yeah.
Yeah, it's been
There's
a while, guys.
always in my head, I always think like, oh, we could be missing somebody, but I'm not sure.
I know there's always that thing where it's just like, oh, am I missing somebody? I just got to make sure. But I think
Well,
when it
oh,
comes
we
to
are
the
missing
trade,
somebody. We are. Memo Rodriguez is gone. That's what we're
oh
missing.
well, yes, yes, he was actually part of the Fagundes trade. He ended up going to Austin. Part of, and I forget how much money we gave to Austin as well. But
It was
of
like
course,
300K, I think,
yeah,
or
300K.
700K potential.
Yeah. So yeah, so 300K up to 700K and Memo Rodriguez for Diego Fagundes, which Memo Rodriguez wasn't here for a while, but hey, I guess heck of a run. I don't know. I mean, he did have a couple bangers here and there, so I mean, you can't say that he didn't leave some sort of an impact. So you know what? Hey, for Memo Rodriguez, at least hope everything goes well in Austin.
Yeah, it's tough for Memo because when he first signed here, he played a totally different role than he imagined. I think mostly he's comfortable as a midfielder, and we put him at winger every game. And you and I were coming on here every week talking about how that doesn't work, how it doesn't look good. But ultimately, that was not his fault. He wasn't brought here to bring in winger, but because of our transfer ban, we couldn't really bring someone in time, and he kind of had to play there the rest of the season. And it didn't work out, but I hope in Austin it goes better for him.
Yeah, hopefully he does. And you're right. He really wasn't, here doing what he normally does. So, like, yeah. I mean, he was placed in a bad position and, you can't fully blame him. But, yeah, like I said, he had some moments in his time here. So, hopefully everything goes well in Austin. But, of course, those were the trade, talks that happened. Let's talk about free agency. Of course, we did sign up one more player in free agents. We ended up getting Billy Sharp, who was from Sheffield United, and a player who has had a lot of experience. And not only am I saying that for where he's been, but also age. I mean, he is 37 years old, which again, for the people who said like, "What? Let's stop bringing in old guys." Sorry, we brought in an old guy. We brought a 37-year-old. But however, again, it's all about the experience, right? And I think that if there's one thing that Billy Sharp has going for him, it's that he has the experience and he's done it for so long and has produced quite a bit at his time in English football, like wherever he's at, whether it's in the Premier League or the Championship or wherever he's been at, right? So he's had his success and he has that experience. And yeah, I know I think a lot of people were kind of mixed about it, but then I think a lot of people are kind of growing into it. But anyways, how do you feel about Billy Sharp coming into this one? It does address the striker situation.
Yeah, like you said, like the production is definitely there. He was very good in English football. In the Premier League, he was all right, but in the Championship, he was very good. He was consistently a 20 plus goal scorer a year. One season, I think, in the third division in England, I believe, he actually scored 30 goals in a year, which, sure, it's maybe not the level of MLS, especially the third division of English football, but it's still good competition. The players are very fit. It's very physical, so I think he's going to translate well over to MLS. And I mean, what's the risk we're taking? Jovic and Judd are giving us basically nothing every week, so it's not really hurting the team at all. And it's for the end of the season. We have an option for next year, so it's definitely worth the chance. And he's a good character. He's going to bring things to the locker room, and yeah, I'm excited to see what he can do.
Yeah, yeah, definitely for sure. And you brought up leadership as well, right? Which is something that we've kind of talked about too, is that we need a leader and we need somebody in this locker room to lift guys up. And Billy Sharp is a guy who I think a lot of people have respected throughout his career. So he does bring that locker room factor into your team. So yeah, I mean, again, despite 37, and I know again a lot of people weren't happy because of that, but you're asking a guy to literally just play 12 games for the rest of the season. 12, yeah, 12, 13. I forget the number that we have left, but point is X amount of games, not that many games. He hasn't played in about a couple months, so he's refreshed. So he's energized, I guess. He's good to go. So like you're not asking him to do too much, and for what we have right now, which is not that much production in the striker position, it is worth a shot. It's worth a shot. But we would also I would also say that Billy Sharp, I think last season did not do good as well. But regardless, let's see what he contributes.
Yeah, last season wasn't his best, but still, like if you get your club promoted in Europe, especially in England, and you're the captain of that team, which he was for Sheffield United, you earned a ton of respect. You have the respect of the whole locker room. I wouldn't say the whole league, maybe the whole league. I don't know. It depends how they view it, but you definitely have respect of that whole team. And yeah, throughout his career, he's done a lot for that club. Although he's basically a club legend for Sheffield United, so it's going to be interesting to see what he brings to the locker room. We were even talking about before after that Vancouver game, like when we conceded the first goal, it's like everyone's heads dropped and kind of just rolled over a little bit. And now I think we brought some of those leaders in, like Yoshida, like Sharp, and even Fagundes a little bit as a well-respected player around MLS. You're bringing in some guys that are going to earn respect from the locker room and hopefully keep this team afloat in some tough moments, which we did not have before.
Yeah, definitely for sure. And you know what? And Billy Sharp is excited to come here. I think he had like a little interview where he's like, you know what, wherever I go, like I'm ready to go. Like I'm here to contribute. I'm here to be that guy. And hopefully he is. I mean, of course, my expectations aren't super high for him, but I do expect him to contribute some sort of way. And I think, again, it's kind of growing on me a little bit, just because a lot of people said like they did kind of weren't iffy about it and stuff like that. But I think Billy Sharp is growing on me. But again, we got to see what he does on the field to really solidify his role.
I mean, yeah, people said he was old, but still, like, even when he was an aging player, like when he was 34, 35, like, he was still having 20 plus goal seasons in the championship, which, I mean, people debate that, but it could arguably be a better league than MLS. I mean, what I would say about it is I think MLS has the better players, but I think overall the tactics and the physicality of the championship are a lot harder. So some people are saying he's going to slow down in MLS, but if he can handle the championship with the physicality and fitness level there, I'm pretty sure he can handle it in MLS, and we'll see what he can do.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like I said, we and then that goes for every player, right? We'll see what these players do because at the end of the day, right now, on face value, on paper, it was a solid window. It was a solid, I guess, however grade you want to put on it. Which I guess, what would you put a grade on it when it comes to all these signings?
Considering what we had at hand, I'd probably give it an A. I guess the only concern is the age factor for some of these players, like how long can we keep it around for their bodies hold up. But overall, from the players you brought in with the sanctions you had, they did a really good job, and they got good value for these players.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'd probably put like an A minus, maybe at lowest a B, but still, or like a B plus. But even then, yeah, I think that this was a solid window. But again, like I said, off of face value, it's a B plus, but we'll see how it goes for the rest of the season and potentially in the future how that changes. But yeah, I mean, overall, just how we look at it, it was a solid window. I'll clap a little bit for the Galaxy, but of course, we'll clap even harder if they get wins.
I mean, yeah, we'll see how they do, but I think these additions definitely help the Galaxy, especially on the attack. Like, we definitely need attackers, and even bringing them in some way that can even help next season, I think is a good thing.
Yeah, definitely for sure. A lot of people were giving praise about. A lot of people were saying Will Kuntz did all these moves. I don't know if it was all Will Kuntz, but definitely for sure, I think he had some decision making in this one.
It wasn't Chris Klein, which is the important thing.
Yeah, it wasn't Chris Klein. It wasn't just him. So yeah, I mean, of course, hopefully Galaxy makes more moves like this in the future, next season, and stuff like that. But for this window, we'll give him a little round of applause. But yeah, those were the signings and transfers that we did. I don't know if you have any other points to talk about those guys right there. No, all right, we're good. We're good to go. So yeah, those were the signings. They are, I think, most of them are in LA now training. So now these guys are, we don't have to wait for them to get their visa or wait for them to get in there or whatever the case may be. And it's like now they're with the team. And do you expect? I mean, of course, we can talk a little bit about later about the RSL game, but do you expect some of these players to start
Yeah.
on Sunday?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think Fagundes can get the start. I think Sadia will get the start. I think Yoshida will get the start. Unfortunately, Billy Sharp is not in LA right now, and he still needs to get his visa. So we're gonna have to do this kind of which bad striker do we want to start game again, which is kind of unfortunate. But yeah, I think some of these players will start, and it'll be interesting to see how they do.
Yeah, definitely for sure. Which again, we'll talk about RSL in a bit. But yeah, I mean, with some of these players are going to get the start. I definitely think so too. But yeah, those were, like I said, those were the transfers, those were the signings, and yeah, I mean that's basically it for that part. I mean, other than that, I mean, what else was there during the break? I mean, I guess there was some G2, which we kind of voiced our opinions on G2 over the break. But yeah, I mean, not only are we doing bad, but Galaxy 2 don't look that great either, and they haven't looked that great this season in general. I know you caught a couple games over the break. How'd you feel about that?
Yeah, yeah, not great to be honest. I mean, so in their last 5 games, they've lost all 5 of them. They've scored 2 goals and they let in 22, and I think if they let in 22 or 24 goals. I think it might be 24 actually. They
Mhm.
just lost 6-1 on Wednesday in Portland. And then they play again. Not even 72 hours later, they lost 6-0 to LAFC, which is like, oh my God. I mean, just wow,
It's crazy,
wow.
man. Yeah, I mean,
It,
honestly, that I we don't really talk too much G2 on here, and it's unfortunate because whenever we have Crystal on here, she's usually the G2 person. But regardless, though, yeah, I mean, I haven't really caught up on G2, which I'm kind of glad I didn't, be considering all the stats you put out right there. But yeah, they haven't been that great. So I don't know what's up with that. I mean, it really is interesting to see. Again, I don't know how much you're into G2 or how much you watch their games, but I mean, it is kind of concerning just in general from like a organization perspective, right? That even our second team is doing bad.
All right, here's the thing. Like, I don't really care about G2 that much. Like, after all, it is a developmental team. Mistakes are expected to happen. We're trying to develop these players for the first team. So if mistakes happen, as long as it doesn't happen at the MLS level, like, I guess we can live a bit. The problem is for me is the rivalry games. Like, these rivalry games still matter a lot to me. Like the San Jose game. I think G2 played San Jose 3 times this year. They did not beat them 1 time. They played them, I think, a week ago. They lost 4-1 at home to San Jose. Like, and then a week later, exactly 1 week, they lost 6-0 to LAFC. Like, that is embarrassing when you're wearing the Galaxy badge. Against rivals, you can't play like that ever. I don't care what level you're at. You still have to represent the club, and just not even competing is completely unacceptable.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like it really is kind of a yeah, it's just not a good look, right? Is that also your second team is not doing that great, and usually sometimes it's like maybe one team's doing bad, but at least G2 kind of has their good moments. But even this season, it's like, damn, like they haven't looked good at all. Like I said, Crystal's usually the G2 girl on here, but every time I talk to her about G2, it's never nothing, it's never anything good. It's always that they did this wrong or they lost to this team, and it's like, damn, like it really does suck. And I think from an organization standpoint, that doesn't look good. And like you said, the rivalry games losing, even if it's not the MLS intensity of the rivalry. It's still sort of a rivalry there, and you still want to beat those guys. And it's like, yeah, I mean, you got to get something going, and I don't know what they've done to really change that. Like, I honestly don't know.
I know what's kind of funny is last year I was playing club soccer and I was in a tournament and I played this LAFC SoCal team. I wasn't even representing anything Galaxy related, and even I wanted to beat these guys extra more than like I would. Like if I was just like another team, like just because it was LAFC, that's how much I care about the rivalry, and I feel like these guys need to care a little bit more, even if they lose, because G2 is not a very good team. You can't just get ran over like that 6-0. It's unacceptable, and it really does need to change.
Right. I mean, hell, I mean, the Galaxy haven't played that good this season, but at least they've gotten their wins against San Jose and LAFC and things like that. So it's like, no matter what, like you always gotta, and regardless, you're not always gonna get the win, but at least if it's a 2-1 loss or whatever, that's fine. But 6-0 or 4-1 or whatever the case may be, that yeah, I mean that's really unacceptable. But again, these guys are learning. It's a developmental league, and hopefully they just develop more.
All right, so in their last 5 games, they lost 4-0 to Wrexham, they lost 4-0 to Austin, they lost 4-1 to San Jose, they lost 6-1 to Portland, and they lost 6-0 to LAFC. I mean, that just tells me that, like, the players just can't compete. You're putting a team out there kind of left to dry. It's like you're putting a AYSO team in a Club Flight 1 league, like you're placing players above their competition, and, or I guess, yeah, above their competition, and it's not working. You have to get new players in. This team really does need help. I mean, if it's at the first team level, some guys you aren't using, we're talking about guys like Efrain Alvarez, Aguirre, Perez needs to play for them more. Vivi needs to play for them more. These guys need to be in the team. Even Jed now, if Billy Sharp comes in, he was a really good USL player. I think he can do it in MLS Next Pro. We need to get these guys in the team because they seriously need some help. And I mean, they're not going to make the playoffs this year probably, but at least get them a couple more wins, make them a little more respectable because right now they're just being left out to dry with blowouts every game.
Right. I think Vivi and Perez still play for G2 actually, so I think they still.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, but regardless, they're still kind of into G2 more. I don't know about bringing some of the first team players back to G2, just considering the fact that like like I understand like Vivi and Perez because they don't really play that much for the first team. So it's like, yeah, they have to play at G2. But guys like Judd, guys like Efrat, like they've had a lot of their experience already with the first team. So it's like, I don't think it really helps them bringing them back down. I mean, personally, to me, like,
We can sign Zlatan out of retirement and put him on G2, give him some help there. No,
yeah. Plus, I think there's an age limit for MLS Next Pro, right? Isn't it under
no,
23?
I don't think there is. I think my friend told me actually like a 46-year-old guy played for the Portland Timbers too last year in USL, but MLS Next Pro might be different. I don't know about that, but I don't believe there's an age limit. But
No, no. USL didn't have an age limit because that was its own league, but I think MLS Next Pro kind of does have their
yeah, I
age
don't
limit.
know.
But even then, like I'm assuming maybe there is like a rule where you can bring somebody who's over the age limit, like a couple players. But regardless, though, like yeah, it'd be interesting to see how Galaxy Two turn it around. I mean, obviously I don't think they're going to turn around this season. I mean, they're last place. They're not gonna do anything. Let's be honest. But still, though, like I mean, it is kind of disappointing to see that they haven't been doing good.
Isn't
Regardless,
it insane though that they're a professional level team getting these blowouts? Like sometimes you see these blowouts at like a recreational level, like oh you just get a bunch of guys from the neighborhood together, you put them in a team, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But these are professional guys that we recruited from our academy, from other places. We got them together. We expected to form at the very least a competitive team, but every game is 6-0, 6-1, 4-0. Like you'd expect these professional guys to be able to hold up against professional teams a little better, but they've just been getting blown out, which shows a clear lack of talent. Maybe even bad coaching. I don't know what it is, but
well,
they really need to figure it out.
Well, I was gonna say to in their defense, some of those players might. That's probably the first time they've experienced professional soccer. So I will say that not yeah, there's some guys who have been playing professional for a bit, but some of those guys are from the academy and they've barely got their first professional start. So I will give them that though. So it's not like all of these guys know what it's like to be a professional yet.
All right, on a more positive note, though, our U17 team did beat San Jose in the MLS Next Pro playoffs, and our U19 team did beat LAFC in a cup final to win some sort of soccer league, so we can end off there on a more positive note. But the Galaxy 2 do need to figure it out, especially in these rivalry games.
Yeah, definitely for sure. Yeah, I mean, we can only hope for the best for G2 because they are our second team. They are technically the future of the team and stuff like that. So, some of those guys could be coming up, whenever that they get their opportunity. But yeah, hopefully they get together. Let's stop losing 6-0 and stuff like that.
Make it
but,
3 next game.
yeah, maybe it's slow starts, right? If it's 3-0, that's fine. If it goes to 2-0, all right, that no, just kidding. That just don't lose.
In
but
3 games, we'll push for a draw. We're on pace.
yeah. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. But yeah, hopefully G2 gets to figure it out. Anyways, anything else we need to talk about before we go into our preview against RSL?
No, I don't believe so.
Yeah, I don't really think so. I don't think that there wasn't really much transfer rumors. Of course, there was the whole Neymar thing, which obviously he's now in Saudi Arabia and stuff like that. Which that deal is insane. Like even if we had a shot, there's no way we were competing to get Neymar. I mean, the guy's getting incentives for breathing. Like it's insane. But
He is, though, actually.
I mean, dude, it really is crazy that contract though. Like, he's getting paid for like posting on social media, gets a mansion and a private jet for free at his disposal and stuff like that. And it's like that's crazy. There's no way any MLS team was going to compete for that.
I think he gets like 50K, or it might even be more for like just posting anything Saudi Arabia on his story. I'd be not even be here, and I'd be posting stories right now. Just
Yeah, I
claim
know.
the
It's
check.
just post. Yeah, I mean, think about it. Like, if you post like one thing about Saudi Arabia every single day, it's like think about how much money you get. Like, I mean, like I said, the guy is literally making money just by breathing. It's insane. But of course, that was a thing though that Neymar could have come. But yeah, I mean, based off that deal, there's no way he was
I
going to
actually
come.
sort of believed before that deal there was a chance we could get him. Like I did think there was like kind of a realistic chance. I didn't think it was like completely out of the water, but obviously now it's not going to happen.
No, yeah. I mean, listen, hey, Neymar's only what, like 31, 32?
31, yeah.
Yeah, so his contract ends in a couple years, so it's like, maybe at 33 he comes to MLS, but yeah, there was no way he's turning down that deal. And honestly, I think PSG, wanted to sell him. They didn't want to completely terminate his thing, so it's like they wanted to make money off of it. So, it is crazy.
Yeah, PSG is pretty shambles right now. I used to actually kind of like them a lot when they had Zlatan, Di Maria, but ever since they got like Messi, Neymar, Mbappe, it's been kind of a shit show for them.
I mean, it's been a disappointment for PSG. It's crazy, and everybody wants to leave. I mean, Messi left; he's happier than ever. Neymar leaves; he's probably going to be happy in Saudi Arabia, especially making all that cheddar. But and now Mbappe wants to leave, and although I think he might stay for the season, but regardless, he wants to leave. It's like, yeah, PSG are in shambles, and it's kind of been a disappointment for them for what they've have.
Yeah, I think Sergio Ramos also wants to leave them, so
I think Sergio Ramos already left. I think he's a free agent.
yeah, he did. I don't think he got brought back.
Yeah, so he's out there available, which is somebody I think I hope we would have gotten, but hey, whatever's. But yeah, I mean, anyways, that's enough PSG talk. I guess we're not really a PSG show, but yeah, the whole Neymar thing was just pretty crazy though. But yeah, I guess we can move into our preview against RSL, which is this Sunday at 7:30, I believe, at Dignity Health Sports Park. Yeah, so RSL, this is gonna be our first game coming back off of the whole Leagues Cup break and things like that. Yeah, it's going to be an important game. Like we said, we've talked about, there's probably going to be some new faces on that team and probably going to get the start. And yeah, I mean, how do you feel about going up against RSL? I mean, we won them once in the league, and then we lost to them in the U.S. Open Cup. So we've already had our battles with them before this year. So yeah, how'd you feel about going up against RSL?
Yeah, first off, isn't the game at 6:30, I believe? I believe it's at 6:30. And
Oh,
it's on a Sunday.
6:30 or 7:30. Yeah, I could be wrong. Probably 6:30.
I feel like we
Yeah.
should know more before coming on
Yeah,
here. It's
I
been a
know.
couple
You know
weeks
what?
since
Sometimes,
this.
that's on me. I just stink
And it's on
sometimes.
me. It's on me too. I mean, I like to know too. So
This show stinks. We don't prepare. We don't. No, I'm just kidding. But sometimes we got to get better and remember what we need to learn. But yeah, I think it is 6:30. But anyways, go to your point. My
yeah,
bad.
back to RSL. I mean, they're a very tough team. Ever since they got new signings and they got like a couple new players, obviously one of them being Arango, they've been very good. I think on the road they have this. You can look it up right now while you're typing. I think they're actually
Yeah.
on like a 9 game road unbeaten streak or something crazy like that in MLS play. And I think they did pretty good in the League's Cup. They beat Seattle like 3-0. So RSL is playing extremely good right now, and they're going to be a very tough opponent to play against. They're always this team that's really hard to break down, not an easy opponent for the Galaxy. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see coming out of the League's Cup break, that massive disappointment. I think we need to go out there and make a statement, especially if we want to try to make this playoff run. And yeah, it has to start on Sunday.
Yeah. RSL right now are in third place. Yeah, so they're doing really good. And yeah, and they did also have a really good Leagues Cup as well. So it's like,
What's the recent form like? 'Cause I think it's like
uh,
9 games unbeaten on the road before the LAFC game.
let's see. Their last game before before the Leagues Cup, they beat New York 3-1. They tied against Kansas City.
Say
I
home
think
and road because I think they've done very good on the road.
yeah, so on the road, they tied against Kansas City. They won against Toronto. They beat St. Louis, who are currently in first place. They beat DC United. They beat Austin. So, yeah, I mean, they've been doing good on the road recently. Like, that's just only a few that I just saw right now. But yeah, I mean, on the road, they've been very good. And and obviously, like I said earlier, they gave in our good battles earlier on in the season too. So, yeah, I mean, this is going to be a really tough opponent, but hopefully with our new additions, we get something going. But yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I believe RSL right now is the hottest team in the league, so it's going to be really hard trying to stop them. Even though last time in the League's Cup they were not very good. I think they lost 4-0 to LAFC, but like before that in MLS play, they were doing very, very good.
Yeah, and again, they're technically, I guess, coming off a little bit of a break since their Leagues Cup match, so it's like they're going to be refreshed. They're going to be going into LA and doing something. And as much as it's important for them, it's a lot more important for us because I mean we got to start get things going. We got 12 games left on the season, and as much as we say like this has got to be the game where they get it going. This really has to be the game where they get it going because
Yeah, I believe we got 2 home games in a row, and I think pretty much for the rest of the season. You want to read off our schedule just in general, and then we can tell you
I
what we think about it, kind of just for a last push.
yeah, I was gonna say let me look up the schedule. All right, I got it here.
All right, read it off, and we can talk
Yeah,
about it.
so of course we got RSL this Sunday.
Say home and away too.
That's at home. We got home against Chicago on the 26th. We go to San Jose on the 30th. We got Houston at home September 2nd. On September 10th, we got St. Louis at home. We go to LAFC on the 16th of September. Minnesota. We have Minnesota at home on the 20th. We go to Austin on the 24th. Portland comes here on the 30th of September. On the 4th, we go to Seattle. On the 7th of October, we go to Minnesota, and then we end off on decision day here at home against Dallas. So that's the rest of the schedule. So
Yeah, Sure. I think a lot of these home games, where we have like 7 home games left and 5 road games, I believe that's correct. We're pretty much gonna have to win all of these home games, and I think it starts this weekend too. And next week against Chicago, we're gonna have to win that one too. I mean, it's really now or never for the Galaxy. They dug themselves in a big hole, and now they're gonna have to try to climb themselves out of it. And it's not gonna be easy. Some of these teams are pretty tough and are playing really well, but I guess that's the only way to do it is by beating these opponents, and we're gonna have to get it done if we want to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, definitely for sure. And honestly, like, there's a lot of the teams that we're facing are again not only just are these just important in general, but like standing wise, depending on some of these teams, if you beat them, it's like they can go a long way. And so, and of course, I think Chicago's the only Eastern Conference team we face for the rest of the season. So literally every game is a Western Conference game. So like whatever happens, if you don't get a result, if it's just going to be a disappointment and it's going to affect the Galaxy even more.
Yeah, speaking of Chicago, I think they're also one of the hottest teams in the Eastern Conference. So both of these games at home are not going to be easy games at all.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, it's just these 12 games is it's it. We got to get things going, and it's crazy that at this point of the season, this is now where we got to get things going. But hey, I guess this is the circumstances we're in. But yeah, we just got to get it going.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. So he went on a 7 game unbeaten streak with 3 wins and 4 ties, and 3 very good ones, I might add, away at RSL against San Jose. Not against San Jose. It was against LAFC at the Rose Bowl, and then it was against Philadelphia. And yeah, after all that, those 3 wins, those 4 ties, we went from 13th in the West to 13th in the West, still 7 points away from a playoff line. So it's like, if you can go on a 7 game unbeaten streak and you're still that far, like, you have to do even more now. You're going to have to go on something like maybe like 5 wins and 2 ties or 6 wins and 1 tie, something like that. That's what it's going to take to get back into things. And is this team capable of it? I don't know. I mean, really, we're going to have to wait and see on that. But it's going to be a very tall mountain to climb, and we got to see what this team is capable of.
Yeah, I mean, definitely for sure. Like this is not going to be easy, and I guess the good thing about having a break from Leagues Cup to now is that I guess we're now got to get mentally prepared for all the stress that we're gonna have for these 12 games. But
I mean, here's the thing. Like, how's that Vancouver result going to affect us? Because it was a terrible result. It was a very hard pill to swallow, like we discussed. Like, is that going to maybe break the team, or is that going to light a fire under their team? Like, is that result going to motivate them, or is it going to kind of just put them down the rest of the season? I feel like you can do one or two things, and I guess we just have to wait and see what happens. But yeah, that'll certainly be interesting because that Vancouver result, like after that game, a lot of players need to look themselves in the mirror, and we have to come out and try to prove a point now.
yeah, I mean, definitely, and you know what? I think that Vancouver game, I think it will sort of light a spark in them. Especially again, like we talked about the trade stuff like that. They've addressed a lot of what we need right now in the circumstances that we're in. So it's like I think that the Galaxy are. I'm hoping the Galaxy go in with a rejuvenated mindset, saying like, "Hey, we got 12 games. That's all we got to look for. Forget what we did in the past. Forget who we beat, who we lost to. Now it's time to focus on these 12 games." I'm hoping that's the mindset that they have, is just push forward, because a lot of things, a lot of results here, and depending on who we beat, it's just going to go a long way. So it's like I'm just hoping that's just sort of the mindset. It's just let's just go all in right now.
I mean, here's the problem though. Like, who's the striker? Who's going to score our goals? Like, that's still an issue right now. Billy Sharp has not got his visa yet, and even if he does, like, we don't know what he's going to do. And for the next like maybe couple of weeks until Billy Sharp gets his visa, we're still gonna have to play this Joveljic Judd game, and it's just a bunch of it's not helpful. It's not helping our team at all, and I don't really know what we're gonna do about it. Who's gonna step up and score the goals? I really don't know. Someone's gonna have to do it. Maybe it's one of the new players. Maybe it's a guy like Boyd Costa Pooch, but I don't know, man. Really.
Yeah, because it can't all be Puig, right? I mean, we saw in that Vancouver game against in the Leagues Cup, it's like, he basically carried that team, and it was just like, you can't just have Puig do everything, right? Everybody's got to step up, and luckily, and the players that are coming in know that they need to step up as well, because they got traded to a team who's in 13th place in the West, so they know they got to push it too. So it's like, I just think I'm hoping that mindset is that everybody collectively is now knows what the objective is, and know that they have a shot technically, and just go all in. That's just all they got to do. Just go all in.
Who would you start at striker these next couple of games until Sharp comes in and we're playing that game again?
Yeah, we are playing that game again.
Now,
And
a startable player or the USL caliber player?
the USL caliber player, I think, has done more for me than the other one. To be honest, like
That's
I mean,
terrible though. Like, it really shouldn't be that way. This is Jovic's third year in MLS. Last year, I think he scored like 16 or 17 goals in MLS play, counting all competitions, the playoffs, preseason, Open Cup. he scored so many goals, and this year it's been a mess. He hasn't really done anything, and I can't understand it at all. But yeah, I agree with you with what Jovic has done this year. It pretty much has to be Judd because the stats say that Jovic is basically a guaranteed loss in the starting lineup.
Yeah, but it's just, here's the thing though too. It's like with when it comes to Judd and Dejan, it's like I feel like they're just two different types. Like obviously they're two different types of players, but they're in the sense of like they play the position a little differently. I feel like Judd is the type of guy who just goes in, just all in, like fucking just bulldozes through everybody and tries to get something going. And a lot sometimes that's work, a lot of times that doesn't work. And Dejan's more of the guy who poaches more and finds the spaces. And, he's had found the spaces, but he just hasn't had the striking ability yet to get a goal in. And it's like, it's stressful. It's like, it's not that, it's just like you really can't win. Like that's just the idea. You can't win with either one of them.
That's why we brought in Billy Sharp. I mean, there's nothing really to lose, so why not try to bring a different dynamic up top?
Yeah, and who knows? Maybe Billy Sharp helps those two. Who knows? Maybe they guide him a little bit. I mean, who knows? Again, he's a respectable player, and maybe that helps Dejan and Preston Judd in their career later on. Who knows?
Imagine Jovic and Judd say like, "No, I'm not listening to you. I'm better than you." Like, imagine they say that.
I mean, I wouldn't. That would be. I don't know. Hopefully, that's not the case. I'm assuming they're young. They're going to learn.
No,
They're going to want to learn. I know, but but hopefully that isn't the case. That they're just like, who I'm not going to listen to some 37-year-old who's had, over however many appearances and however many goals throughout his career. Why would I listen to you? Like that'd be terrible. But no, yeah. I mean, honestly, we're just gonna have to see who plays and who starts. And yeah, I mean, I don't know who I'd be more confident with, but again, on paper, I think Judd is the guy you got to start.
I think Jovic at his best is the better player, but obviously he hasn't been at his best. But Judd is probably the better fit in this lineup.
Yeah, definitely. And again, and we kind of give Judd a little bit of slack, but I think he's just been put in a position where I think it really it's not entirely his fault that he's been put in this position, but it is what it is. But I guess Dejan, we kind of have to give him more criticism because it's like we know what you can do, you just haven't done it at all this season. So I don't know. It really is going to be we'll see how it goes, but whoever they start, I mean, I don't know. I feel like it just doesn't matter. Yeah. But anyways, I think that's going to be it for RSL and for the episode, unless you have any other points to talk about. No? All right, we're good. We're going to move on out. But anyways, yeah, that's going to be it for the episode. We can't thank you guys enough for listening. If you want to follow us on social media, follow me at Insider Galaxy, Instagram, X now, Threads, whatever social media site you want to find me on. Go follow me there. Go follow LA Galaxy Central on Instagram. And yeah, I mean, thank you guys for tuning in. We hope you all have a great rest of your day. Be a friend, tell a friend about the podcast. And you got any other things to say before we go?
No, I mean, this is it for the Galaxy right now. 12 games to go, 7 home games, 5 road games. If we want to make the playoffs, it's got to start now, and we got to go in hard, go in motivated, and get some results to go our way.
Yeah, definitely for sure. Like I said, we got to go all in. Now's the time. 12 games. We'll see how it goes, but hopefully it results in a win this Sunday. Hopefully, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. But anyways, like I said, thank you guys. Be a friend, tell a friend about the podcast, wherever you're listening to this podcast. And I hope you all have a great rest of your day, rest of your night, whenever you're listening to this. And yeah, feels good to be back. And G's up.
7 words.